Does Declan Rice want out of West Ham? That's the question. That's what I'm going to title the video. I don't have the answer. So all we can do is sort of look into it and try and surmise and assume and just try and work out what's going on. I meant to do a video on Declan Rice last week because there were rumours that he was having his head turned by the other players in training, in England training, by the Man City players, by the Chelsea players, by the Manchester United players. I think along the lines of, it's great. It's great at Man United. It's great at Chelsea. It's great at Manchester City or whoever else might fancy bidding for him. Now, I don't think this is unusual. I think this is something that just happens. I would imagine Jack Grealish has had a similar sort of thing. The timing of this is not fantastic, but the timing of it has to be now because he is now away for a sustained period. Now, let's just suppose for 1 second that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer does want him, or Tuchel does want him. Would we put it past those managers saying to their players, oh, by the way, butter him up when you're on international duty, when you're playing volleyball in the swimming pool or whatever, when you're playing golf, or just when you're basically locked away with each other for weeks on end, really, have a word. See if he fancies it. Try and persuade him. Because very much the information we had before that was, certainly as far as Manchester United concerned, Declan Rice didn't want to leave. He'd bought a house in Cobham, didn't want to move up north. And I was always a little bit reluctant to believe that at the time. Now, I should probably say Gio's done a video on this already today. I've not watched it on purpose. Not because he's rubbish, but on purpose, because I don't want to know what he thinks. I don't want it to taint what I think about the situation. Now, I thought for quite a long time, I've always understood it when footballers are making decisions for their families. I'm surprised more of them don't do it. I'm surprised we don't hear more. A footballer is not moving club, doesn't want to move club because he doesn't want to move his kids out of school. It surprises me that we just don't hear that more. The family upheaval, he wants to remain near his family. You hear it occasionally, but not as much as I would think. Now, I understand it. You know, you're a million. You know, you're multi-millionaires. New deal's worth millions for you. Fine, but they're millionaires anyway. So really, it's about the footballer's ambition. And I think there's a lot of times when, well, why should one member of the family's ambition be more important than the kid's schooling or anybody else's? Particularly bearing in mind you're set for life financially anyway. But Rice doesn't have any kids. At least I don't think he has any kids. Hopefully Rice thinks he doesn't have any kids and doesn't have any kids. Anyway, so realistically, is there a massive reason for him not to move? Well, not really. He's not. He's a young man. He's not built the ties and that you do as you go through life. So I'm not surprised at that. I think as well, looking at it, I'm also not surprised that he's gone away and he might have looked at it and thought, actually, this is something I do want to do. It may well be completely possible that a few weeks ago he didn't want to move up north, didn't want to move to Manchester. Now possibly does, because everybody's been saying wonderful things about Manchester. This might not be happening at all. Now, the reason for this is, as I'm sure you will know, because you're all West Ham fans, you won't have had your head in the sand, he's rejected 2 contracts from West Ham. The Telegraph have broken this story. I don't know why we know this. I don't know. Look, it's either been leaked from the Rice end or from the West Ham end. But I don't know. Actually, I can't really see the advantage to West Ham leaking the news. I can see the advantage to Rice leaking the news, which is, well, hey, hello, look, I'm available. I'm not signing a deal at West Ham. Now, he's got 4 years left. I think it's 3 years plus an option. If you remember, there was quite a protracted dialogue, a negotiation for his last contract. He refused to sign his contract last time. So this is not without a situation to refer back to. We can look at this and think, okay, it's happened before, but I do think this is different. I think the situation to really actually look back on is the Ireland situation, whereby, look, Rice loves West Ham. I mean, he really does. He's got a massive affinity with fans. He loves the club. But his ambition will supersede that. Make no mistake about it. I think he loved Chelsea, but he left Chelsea to better himself, to prove himself. And I mean, the biggest two fingers up at those that let him go would be for him to sign for Chelsea for a lot of money. I mean, that would really be him vindicated and proven correct. But he loved Ireland. He still loves Ireland. I've no doubt about it. His grandfather's Irish. I know this. I have a similar dynamic in my family with the same country, with Ireland. So it's very easy to be fond of Ireland and love the Irish people and whatnot. And he'll be very, very familiar with it. However, when it came to the crunch, he decided to go with England for ambition. And he's been proven right, by the way, because look where England are right now. We're in the quarterfinals of the European Championships. He probably looked at the England team, looked at the players coming through, and thought, actually, I would quite like to be a part of this. And when he did that, he knew he was going to upset a nation. And that would have weighed heavily on him, don't get me wrong, but he still was prepared to do it. And he knew he would probably be hated, disliked, whatever. There was probably a number of things went through his mind, and even though he knew there was going to be a backlash, he thought, actually, I'm going to do it anyway. So I'm not sure we can hold Declan Rice at West Ham because we're West Ham fans, and he's love for the fans, and he doesn't want to let us down. That won't happen. When the opportunity to leave arises and he thinks it's best for him, he will do that, and that will happen. I think you often, well, I say you, me personally, because he is so young, because he's not 25 and looking to move on. I mean, I guess was 3-4 years younger than Grealish. You like to think, well, hold on, Declan, have a year's worth of European football. Have some more experience at West Ham, and then you'll still be 22, 23, whatever, 24. You're still a young man. You've still got a good 9-10 years at the top level, ain't you, before you hang up your boots. And I wouldn't imagine that Declan would be completely averse to that. I think if Declan stays at West Ham for next season, I don't think that'll be a bad thing. I think he knows the team are going places. I think he'll probably be looking forward to playing in Europe, in the Europa League. He'll probably feel it's a good education for him. And the correct level, and I don't mean the Europa League's the correct level because the Champions League isn't. I just mean for someone that's an England international and starts pretty much every game, he should be playing European football. So I don't think he's saying, no, I won't play European football at all, or he's not saying I'm leaving West Ham. I think what he's saying is, I ain't committing to West Ham for the long term. I'm just not doing it. I ain't signing a contract until I'm 27 years of age at West Ham. That's really what's being said here. And I don't blame him for that. I mean, it's a bit gutting. It really is. It is a shame. It is a massive shame. And some of the stories that are coming out around it, that he's saying, come and get me to those clubs. I don't believe those bits. I'm not saying he doesn't, but he doesn't have to say it publicly. Declan Rice doesn't have to say through the press, oh, come and get me. Because he can just do it. He can speak to Marcus Rashford. He can speak to Mason Mount, Ben Chilwell, whatever. And say, come and get me. He could say to Harry Kane, tell Daniel Levy to leave me alone. He can get the messages through to the clubs without having to go through the press. So I'm not so sure about that. But I do think it's a statement. Is it to let the others know? Maybe Liverpool, for instance, who haven't been linked with him or anything like that. Actually, other clubs, other big clubs, actually maybe give them a little nudge just to say, hello, yeah, I'm here and I wouldn't be adverse to a move. I would imagine it's extremely addictive being around the England camp. I'd imagine seeing players of that ability, training in close proximity to them. I think that is going to have a bit of an impact on him, and he's probably thinking, actually, this is the level I want to be at. But I actually think there's another factor, and this is just something. I think the dynamic has changed for Declan in the England midfield, and the dynamic has changed because of Calvin Phillips. And I don't think Calvin Phillips will leave Leeds, although I do think that throws a different dynamic. I think if Phillips lets it be known that he's up for sale, so to speak, then I do believe, a couple of these clubs Man United, Chelsea, whatever, would also be in for Phillips. I don't think you buy in both. I don't think you. No, do you know what? I don't even think Paris Saint-Germain can afford to buy Phillips and Declan Rice. Well, they probably can, but not without smashing the UEFA financial fair play if it's still in operation at the moment. But I think where Phillips comes into play is that Declan Rice might be thinking, this guy is played every minute. It's me that's getting subbed. I think Declan Rice might look at it, and Declan Rice might think, for me to ensure that I am starting straight away all the time as first choice, I need to be the first name on the team sheet at Manchester United's midfield, or whatever the case may be. Now, obviously, you look at it and you think, well, you haven't got to worry, Declan. You've been picked together. Gareth Southgate's been picking Phillips and Rice in the middle. But that's not always going to happen. Even Gareth Southgate's not going to want two midfielders of that ilk for every game. He's going to want to free something up. He's going to want to play Mason Mount central next to someone, and then so on and so forth. So, also, you know, Southgate might not necessarily be in the job forever. What's to say a new manager only wants one holding midfielder, and it will then either be Declan or Calvin Phillips. And Declan's already shown that he's more than happy to put his career first, and rightly so. It's his career at the end of the day. And in the same way that he thought sort of snubbing Ireland and pledging his international allegiance to England would help further his career, he was willing to do it. If he certainly thinks joining a big club will keep him as the first name on the team sheet for England, he'll do so, because we know playing international football is important to him. We know that. If he didn't care, he would have stayed with Ireland. If he was just one of those guys who just likes to pick up the money and all the rest of it, no. Declan Rice wants to be the best footballer he can be. And I think the shame for West Ham is, you know, he's unlikely to become that Bobby Moore figure that we sort of want and hope that he can be. Certainly got, you know, tons of ability and reads the game absolutely superbly, no doubt about it, but he's just not going to be around. And I think there's an awful lot West Ham can do about it, because I think even if we chucked, let's say David Moyes let's say he's got 60 million to spend this summer. It's 50 million, 60 million. Even if that doubles, even if it trebled, even if it was 200 million, I'm not entirely sure it'd be enough to keep Declan Rice, because I'm not sure he'd be willing to stay around for the journey, you know, for the evolution of the team. And why should he, in many respects? Because there's instant glory to be had elsewhere. And when you look at Manchester United, for instance, if this is one of the clubs, you look at Manchester United and you think, well, he's probably looking at them and thinking, well, I've just signed Sancho. Sancho's a magic player. We see him in training for England. He's probably thinking, hold on, I want a bit of that. What am I playing in that team? And he's seen today that Man United linked with Raphael Varane. And he's probably thinking, whoa, hold on a second. I want part of this. I really do. Because look at that right winger, it's Jadon Sancho. Look at that centre-back. That's Raphael Varane. He's probably thinking, I'd really like to do that. And as much as he might love West Ham, and as much as he might love the fans, he's probably not looking at Jared Bowen and Craig Dawson and thinking, yeah, you know what? I'd really like to play with those two players over and above Jadon Sancho and Raphael Varane.